Here comes the money. Here comes the money. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're at day 20. We've made it halfway point. 40 days of 4VKM. Episode 21. This was the 21st 4VKM video that dropped, and the release date of it was 7/17/2021. So another 1 year delta. We had the Crash the Plane, the Ultimate Warrior video that came out on 7/17 the year before. So we got another 17. We hit a delta there. And this is a short video, not a lot, right? But really just showing you guys a comparison of events between two, what we'll call Prodigal Sons, right? So you have Shane McMahon. Shane McMahon is the son of Vincent Kennedy McMahon. And he has a son now that's actually a Hoosier, and Declan McMahon, who people say, you know, maybe he'll end up in WWE and continue on the McMahon legacy, like his dad, like his granddad, like his great-granddad, like his great-great-great-granddad, and keep that legacy going. So should be fun to see that. He's an athlete. He's a football player right now. So who knows? Maybe he'll be a full-time wrestler. But anyway, you got Shane McMahon. He is the son, and he always appeared to be the heir apparent to Vince McMahon, especially in the early days when he debuted in 1998, 98, 99. He was with Vince in that corporation that I was telling you guys about. And he has a sister. Obviously, Vince has a daughter, Stephanie McMahon, who ended up marrying Triple H in storyline and also in real life as a result of that storyline. And it became apparent in the early 2000s that it seemed that Vince kind of favored Stephanie between the two of them, right? So where it looked like Shane would be the heir apparent, it ends up being Stephanie by the looks of it, right? And as that decade kind of goes on, you know, Shane, I don't know if he saw the writing on the wall or he just wanted to do other stuff, but he gives his notice at the end of 2009. So we're going into a new decade. He's like, end of 2009, new decade, I'm starting something new here, right? So he leaves at the end of 2009, not to return again until 2016. Now, what was he doing while he was gone before we get back into the video? He was working with a Chinese company. It was like an on-demand pay-per-view company, right? It was like the pay-per-view of China, and he was helping build that business up, right? So he was building some Chinese connections right there. What did I talk about a couple episodes before? People don't like how John Cena speaks Mandarin, right? You know, but the truth is, it's almost like they're establishing some sort of back channel communication here, right? So Shane goes on, he works with the Chinese, builds some businesses up over there. We see him with golfer, I think. What's his name? Rory something, right? I'm not even going to try to say it. I'm not a golf guy. But he's got his hands in all these different types of things, right? And now little Shane, he's all grown up. When he left in 2009, he was 39 years old. You have the person that this story is getting compared to, JFK Jr., when he left, he was 38 years old, right? So +1 on Shane O'Mac there. But when does Shane come back? Shane comes back, I'll never forget, he was in Detroit, Michigan. It was 2/22/2016. So you got a 2/22. And I know it was Detroit, Michigan, because I was actually flying to Detroit, Michigan. I was watching it on my Delta flight, Monday Night Raw, and nobody really expected Shane to come back. And then Vince is doing a ceremony with Stephanie, and he's presenting the Vincent J. McMahon Legacy Award, I believe it was called. And that's Vince's dad. So everybody's like, who's Vince gonna, present this award to? And then he calls his daughter out, Stephanie, and he gives it to Stephanie, right? So that draws Shane out because he can't believe Stephanie's getting this award. He's back now on 222, and the place goes crazy. I remember being on the plane and popping for it and just going like Shane O'Mac's back, right? The only one on the plane watching wrestling, I'm sure. But it was a pretty cool moment, to say the least. So Shane O'Mac's back. He sets up, basically he goes back and forth with his dad and his sister, who is shocked to see him back, right? So that's kind of interesting. If you're, again, thinking of a parallel story here, there's a lot of questions sometimes about Caroline, right? Whose side is she on? Well, everybody always sees her with the Democrats. She endorsed Joe Biden, so there's a lot of questions there in terms of that. Now, makes sense to me. They're Democrats, right? The Kennedys have always been Democrats, right? So would you expect anything else other for them to endorse the Democrat candidates? I wouldn't at the end of the day. So let's see what ends up happening with all that. But you have a very shocked sister. Can't believe that this guy is back. She thought he was gone forever, right? To leave her the kingdom to rule, essentially. So Shane comes out. And he's like, I'm back, right? Me and Vince cut a deal. And the deal was I get to go and leave and do some stuff that I wanted to do and whatnot. But eventually I'm going to come back. And this was his time to come back. And the other interesting thing, which is not in the video, but it's if you find this clip, you'll see it on Vince's side. He talks about a secret that basically Shane had to bail him out of, right? Shane had to save his ass at one point in time, and that's why Shane was able to cut this deal. So it's kind of interesting when you think about all the stuff that's come out about Vince McMahon, right? What did Shane know? How did Shane save his ass back in the day, right? Maybe we'll never find out. Maybe we will. Maybe they'll let us know one day. So, Shane, what's Shane want? Shane wants control of Monday Night Raw. He wants to be the guy running Monday Night Raw. And Vince says, okay, you can get that match if you want. Or you can get that responsibility if you want. All you have to do is face The Undertaker at WrestleMania in a Hell in a Cell match, right? So it's not just The Undertaker. It's also a Hell in a Cell match, right? Which, if you've ever seen those, a big giant cage. Usually, sometimes people fall off of it through a table. There's been some crazy Hell in a Cell matches. Shane's known to be a daredevil. He likes to jump off things. He likes to fall off things, right? So, it should be a fun match. That was at AT&T Stadium in Dallas for WrestleMania 32. Undertaker ends up winning the match. Shane, I have a video because I was at that WrestleMania of Shane falling from the top of the cage through the table. Just a hell of a match, right? I mentioned his son Declan. At this point, like I mentioned, Shane's grown up, right? So he had been gone for all those years. He has a family now who are kind of growing up, so he wants to wrestle in front of them. They all come out wearing little Shane O'Mac jerseys in his entrance on the way to face The Undertaker at WrestleMania 32, and it's basically saying, like, the McMahons aren't going to go away for any time soon because they got 3 little McMahons waiting in the wings, and that doesn't even include Stephanie and Triple H's kids, right? So you have little Declan at ringside now watching his dad compete for the first time probably ever, and you have that nice little moment. Now, going back to the parallel story, we were talking about 2 prodigal sons. On 7/19/2017, Shane McMahon was involved in a helicopter crash. And it took place off of Long Island, Gilgo Beach, I believe it's called, or other areas call it Babylon, right? So you have all these interesting... Fire Island is another name, right? Fire Island Rescue is the ones who came out to get him. And I believe he was rescued by the Coast Guard at the end of that. And what ended up happening? His helicopter started to go down, basically made an emergency landing in the water. Everybody survived. Nobody was injured. It was all good. They were able to recover him, pull him to shore. Everybody was safe and sound, right? So what was the date? 7/16/2017. 7/19/2017. What happened on 7/16/1999, right? Another prodigal son we were just talking about. We know that that's the day that the plane crash went missing. I think 7/19 was actually the day that they were pronounced done, right? Like that's when they kind of ended the search and whatnot, I believe on 7/19. And you have literally 18 years later, another famous son landing in the water, but this one he's recovered and he's, safe and sound, right? So it's very interesting when you kind of look at it like that. When you look at the helicopter, the tail sign, what they call it, right? It is N188DD. So if you just take the numbers that are in that, 188, 1 plus 8 is 9, plus 8 is 17. So you have a 17 right there on the helicopter. So Vince, very happy. Linda, very happy. It becomes national news, right? Everybody's talking about Shane McMahon. Did they fake it, right? That's what a lot of people are saying. Shane loves to do crazy stuff, right? So, faking a helicopter crash and surviving it. He jumps off a Titantron, for God's sakes. So, what are the odds that this happens to him, too? He's such a thrill seeker, right? At the same time, too, he's such a reckless, son of a millionaire. You've kind of heard those comparisons before with other people as well. So, you have all that going on. Now, one of the things that really caught my attention is one of the lifeguards that ran out or swam out to save them or to help rescue them, get them on a little boaty. He goes, it was the best case scenario what happened. It was far enough out, but close enough for them to get him. And nobody got hurt, right? No beachgoers got hurt. It wasn't too dangerous for the lifeguards to get out there, right? Shane and the pilot of the helicopter walked away unscathed. It just, they lost their shoes in the endeavor, right? But for the most part, everybody was okay. So, that's really it. We know what happened with the plane crash on 7/16 and all that. And I mentioned in a couple videos ago, Chris Jericho, he was coming back in 2007. And when he was coming back in 2007, he was using coded messages, coded videos, and a lot of it was gematria, right? Or it was a mixture of gematria and Roman numerals, right? And it would point to a date, 7/19 or 16, depending on how you interpret it. And then the year was 99, right? So again, you have a 7/19 where Shane's incident happened, 7/16 where Junior's incident happened, and one of the other scenes that pops up in those videos, Coast Rescue. So again, that was 2007 when those videos were coming out. So I always thought about that in both of those instances there. What other Coast Rescues ever happened in WWE? There are none, right? But there is Shane McMahon's helicopter, right? And, talking about the second coming of Shane McMahon, second coming of JFK Jr., Coast Rescue. Maybe. We'll see. Maybe they weren't even in that plane at all. They didn't have to be rescued. Who knows, right? But we end the video with a fun little clip. You can use your imagination, right? But go look up the rally that happened in Wellington, Ohio. And this was, I would imagine, around 2021 when Trump restarted doing rallies again. It was around that same time. There's a guy sitting behind Trump, just like there always is, right? And oddly enough, his face, the middle of his face, is covered by the pylon, or whatever the hell that thing's called, right? Lower thirds, but it's in the upper thirds. I don't know what you call it. But the little graphic, right, that says Wellington, Ohio, it's basically like a bar covering the guy's face. So you never see the whole face. You only see like the top, the eyes, and then below the mouth, right? And you see the hairline, you see the nose kind of sometimes, right? But you never see the whole face, right? So go check out the video, Wellington, Ohio. This video came out on 7/17, a day after the anniversary, right? The anniversary of the day that the world found out that Junior had gone missing. So it's kind of fun to think about and imagine. Is that him sitting at the rally? We've thought it a couple times, right? With Carolyn sometimes, with, as Vincent Fusca sometimes. So it's fun. It's fun to think about. But check the video out yourself. It's called The Sun Returns. The link is below here on Rumble. And this is going to kind of set up our next video that we're going to do, where we introduce a character that very controversial. Not everybody's a fan of this guy. I happen to know him, or got to know him to a degree, over the phone and just communicating through the internet. Never did anything bad to me, wrong to me. So, you know, he's always treated me well. So people who treat me well, I treat them well as well. You know, so, and that person is negative 48. And this video kind of caught their attention, and that leads to a meetup between the two of us on a Telegram chat in the next episode. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget to subscribe for the 4VKM podcast on YouTube, and 4VKM.com for all the other episodes that we have. Check out that Wellington, Ohio rally. See if you can, you know, figure out who the guy is. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just a lookalike, right? That happens a lot. But it's fun to think about, right? It's fun to think about. And at the very least, maybe what we're doing is manifesting something here by kind of showing you these things. You know, sometimes I wonder if none of us were doing any of this, would anything ever happen, right? If we didn't do it, I can almost guarantee you nothing would ever happen, right? So I feel like we all have a purpose in bringing some of these clips and theories and whatnot together to show people, and, you know, let that imagination take over. So, as always, you know what I'm going to say. Enjoy the show.